Alright, so this is the Kato MP36PH or whatever locomotive. In this case, this is a VRE version. So on my site, or on my price list, I have two different versions. I have the standard version, then I have the deluxe version with a lot of extra wiring and lighting in it. And there is a price point that far exceeds the lesser of the two. And the reason is you have to go in here and you have to put a whole bunch of 0402 LEDs in here and insulate everything in there. In this case, we've got an independent headlight, independent red marker lights, independent ditch lights. They flash. That's two right there. And this one doesn't have a Mars light, so what I did was I split out the number boards on here, and we'll put that on that function. And obviously you got a rear light back here, which wasn't on the model itself. And so I've got this is a ESU Nano, which has 4 function outputs besides the forward and reverse headlights. So you're going to use all of them going forward. So now I need to go through this mess and tap all these in and shorten these wires and shrink wrap some stuff in here. But yeah, this is what this thing looks like without a shell on. I'll have to do a little more function mapping on here, but should be neat, assuming everything goes according to plan, which it never does. But you know, gotta start somewhere. All right, so here it is. We're testing it. We got all the LEDs off. That's the rear. That one's not going to matter, but yeah, alternating ditch lights. It's kind of hard to tell on here, but the number boards are actually lit on there too, even though they're separate LEDs. But they're triggered by the headlights, so you're really not going to see them unless the headlights on. We got the red light, which is going to show bleached out as white, but that is most definitely red. So, going through the motions here. Interesting wiring this thing up, but I'm going to get him all heat shrinked and buttoned together. And we'll go from there. So right now we're making some clearance cuts in this frame. We're going to remove a bit of this and a bit of this up here, so all of the LEDs and light pipes fit now. We're just basically skimming the top. We don't need a lot because I don't want to lose too much structural strength here. As I said, we didn't need to remove a lot, so we just kind of skimmed the top, take it down like 20,000ths of an inch. So we'll see if that's enough. Hopefully it is, so I don't have to bring it back out here after dismantling it again. Alright, so this F40 in VRE is now modified. What I've got is a V5 Micro here. And for function 1 and function 2, those are tapped into some 0402 LEDs for the ditch lights. Because I believe on the VRE units, they are independently controlled and they have, and they flash back and forth when the horn is blown. And then back here is just a scrap PCB and surface mount diode and surface mount resistor for the rear light. Obviously there's an F40 sound file, and then as I'm putting this all back together, this is just a piece of scrap PCB that has a couple of resistors added to it for the 0402s. And I just got this guy function mapped, so I'm going to get him all back together, and I'm going to shoot some video of him, probably with the MP36, and wrap this project up. Alright, good morning everyone. So, I got a lot of ground to cover today with my poorly shot, horribly narrated videos here. So I'm going to start with the VRE stuff, which there should have been some video clips before this explaining what happened. For example, this MP36 has an ESU Nano in it with a sound file that ESU did up for me. I made a few tweaks to it, obviously, and refunction mapped it for all the lighting. But this has independent ditch lights, a forward headlight, rear marker lights, and the number boards are actually on their own separate LEDs. You won't really be able to see a lot of that stuff because I have so many lights going on down here, and my camera, for whatever reason, does not like picking up red marker lights and some dim lights, but you'll just have to bear with me and accept that it does exist. So, without further ado, we're going to hit the headlights, we're going to hit the ditch lights, we're going to hit the sound. And as far as I know on VRE units, the bell and the horn are latched to each other for grade crossing when the horn is blown. There we go. Not sure how well they're showing up on here, but the red reverse marker lights are on there. Alright, now we're going to move on to the F40. Alright, so this VRE F40 luckily was a little simpler than that MP36 that I spent way too much time on. This just takes a standard ESU Micro, and then I took the aux1 and aux2 outputs and I wired in 0402 warm white or golden white LEDs along with a little resistor bank, so it's got some separate ditch light action going for it. And so without further ado, we're going to do that and that. And moving along. All right, next up are a couple of Kato N-scale P42s. These have ESU Micro V5s in them, along with alternating ditch lights. And before anybody screams up and down that this is the wrong sound file in there, if you press F26, it puts it in head and power mode where the prime mover is on it, like notch 8 all the time. Seen that in the comments a couple of times, even though people don't bother reading my descriptions. But that's par for the course on YouTube. So my controller over here, I can't put F26 in it, so we're just going without. So without further ado, just going to skip this whole shutdown sequence here and move to the next. Looks the same, but it's the other unit. Alright, next up we are going to move on to, I got a couple of Fox Valley models ES44s that were retrofitted with Kato, well, ESU, Kato USA style 58741 boards and 15x8 speakers. So we will get to those. Alright, so we got Fox Valley models ES44AC. So we're going to turn the sound on. Turn the forward lights on. And got the ditch lights. This on the BNS F1 I didn't set them so they alternate, but there are two separate LEDs in there for that. And moving up next is a Norfolk Southern one. So we will turn that on, hit F8. This one in with Norfolk Southern practice. It does have alternating ditch lights set up. And moving right along here. Next up is the Kato GG1, which has a 58741 ESU Kato USA board in it. Frame spin machine, so it takes two 15x8 speakers that are in there. And it has ESU's SO559 file, which should be correct for a GG1, at least according to them. So without further ado. go, GG1 with ESU Loksound. Next up is a Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy E5A locomotive and scale made by Kato USA. This one has been retrofitted with a ESU V5 Micro, and it has a separate independent Mars light added. Obviously, you should be able to see that flashing there. It's pretty bright. So, wait the sound. And moving right along. Alright, next up is just a standard pair of Kato ES44ACs and BNSF. These are pretty straightforward. I've done like a billion of these things. They don't have separate ditch lights or anything. It just goes through the standard light pipe. To show you, since I got two of the same. Basically, that's just the standard mechanism. That's a 58741 board. That is a 15x8 speaker. It's got LEDs soldered on there. In place of the surface mount ones, which don't kick off enough light. You can kind of wrap this guy around the speaker there for that rear LED there. That's about it for those. So I'm going to fire these guys up real fast. So and since these are identical, I'm just going to take him off. Put him right on. Show that they both work. Alright, so that recaps a bunch of different things. So I will put notes in the description explaining what happened to each one, and a lot of these stuff like the ES44s and the P42s and E5 I've done countless times, and there's standalone videos on those, so I probably won't go too far into depth. So always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Your best bet is to either email me or send me a message over on the Book of Fakes. If you put a comment down below in the YouTube comments, I don't always reply to those because I don't always see them. Anything else? Thanks for watching. Hope everybody has a great day. Hope you learned something. Thanks.